Hi, I wanted to make a video to help with question number 20 on the homework, which asks you to build a polynomial, and it gives you 3 pieces of information. It tells you that -2 minus I is a 0 of the polynomial. Let's stop there for a minute. If we know that -2 minus I is a 0, then what else has to be a 0? The conjugate, right? That's the conjugate pairs theorem says that if you have a complex 0, that its conjugate is also a 0. So from this piece of information, we know that x equals -2 plus I is also a 0. Okay, let's move on for a minute. The next piece of information is that, you know what, let me fix the lighting. I just realized that glare. Get that light turned off. Okay. -7, 0 is a local maximum. So that means on the graph, right, that it's a local max point at, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That the graph looks like that right there. So what that means is that x equals 7 is a 0 with even multiplicity. Okay? And then there's one other piece of information over here that tells us as x goes to infinity that p of x goes to -infinity. So that means as x gets bigger, that the polynomial, the y values get smaller. So that means that on the right-hand side of the graph's going to go down on the right. And what that also means, any graph, any polynomial graph that goes down on the right-hand side will always have a negative leading coefficient. So p of x, our polynomial, has a negative leading coefficient. All right, so now let's piece this all together. What we want to do is build factors for our polynomial. So we're going to have p of x equals, I'm going to put a negative in front because we need a negative leading coefficient, and then I'm going to start building factors for these zeros. Okay, so if -2 minus I is a 0, that means we have to have a factor of x minus -2 minus I. Make sure you group this. And then if -2 plus I is a 0, we can build a factor for that in a similar way. It'll be x minus -2 plus I. And then we have to build a factor for our other 0 that we know about, which is 7. That comes from a factor of x minus 7. But since it has an even multiplicity, we need to make the exponent on that factor an even value. So we can just make it a 2, right? We'll just square that factor. And this is actually the correct answer, written in factored form. WebAssign will not accept the answer, however, unless you at least multiply this part of it out. They want an answer that doesn't have I in it. So what you're going to want to do is, well, first distribute the minus signs in each of these. You have x plus 2 plus I, and then x plus 2 minus I. And then what you want to do is multiply this out completely and simplify it. Okay? So just these 2 factors, multiply and simplify. And then you'll have your final answer, right? So your final answer is going to be p of x equals negative whatever you get from multiplying this out times x minus 7 squared. But I'm going to leave you with a little bit of work to do on your own. So I want you to try to multiply this out on your own and figure out what goes into this blank, okay? And hopefully that helps.